With these years of Xal'atath slowly evolving into Jailer 2.0, we are finally getting some actual concrete hints of how Midnight is going to end, and we can datamined the cinematic that confirms this. So far we know about Xal'atath's plan to become Azeroth herself, and we know that the Titans are returning, and the Camelot leak that revealed Classic Plus talked about Titans succeeding and turning Azeroth into one of their own. A new villain we will have to fight. Something absolutely crazy is going to happen very soon, after years of just filler storytelling of the saga. But how is Midnight actually going to end? Is this finally the end of Xal'atath and the transition into Sargeras, Illidan, and the Titans? Let's look at everything we currently know about how Midnight is finally going to end. If you ever wished you had WoW in a single library together with all your games, PlayTracker is literally the perfect solution. This app allows you to have everything in one place together with your WoW content, so your Steam, GOG library, literally everything is there. You got your friends cross-platform as well as your own achievements. Best of all, your achievements also give you points, and you can level up with these points and unlock a bunch of rewards and customize your account. This will solve so much for you with a single click, so click my link in the description below and check out PlayTracker.net. So BlizzCon is really just around the corner, and we really are looking at the ending in the very near future, but seeing that we datamined a cinematic, actually a transcript of the cinematic, it very strongly hinted not only what Zelda's plan really is, but how Midnight is actually going to end. However, that just got changed, as like a week back in the new build, Blizzard posted that the script is out of date, which further makes the entire thing confusing, but I don't necessarily think it is really all that confusing. So the script itself, to get the long story short, is not actually from 12.2 but from 12.1, and it continues on the Amani storyline, but at the end we get a conversation with Orvenia, Arator, Liadrin, and they say that Xal'atath has reached the world soul and we have to move now. We have to find a way down there and we have to blast open the core way. Then Liadrin asks whether Xal'atath is going to consume our world soul, and Orvenia says no, Xal'atath is going to become Azeroth, our world soul, which is probably the biggest spoiler for the ending so far. Now, the main reason this got so interesting is because we did get that Camelot leak that actually aligns with this perfectly. You probably heard about this leak, but some guy leaked the entire timeline of the entire Warcraft franchise exactly 1 year ago, so August 2025, and on that image we saw this project called Camelot, which, by the way, we just got the alpha version on the new build, and this is the datamined project, very likely Classic Plus. I mean, sure, leaks today are just super crazy unreliable as opposed to just a few years back with the use of AI and just, in general random forum posts, but just objectively, what are the odds of some random guy on Reddit posting that Blizzard is working on Project Camelot nearly a year before we learned of that name, before we got that same announcement? Sure, if he said they were working on Classic Plus, it will be a guess, but the name Camelot is so crazy specific that it just has to have some legitimacy to this. The entire Reddit post showed that someone was apparently fired from the social media team, and then they kind of spilled the beans on what is going on with The Last Titan, which kind of confirms the Midnight ending as we currently know it. They say that the main plot of The Last Titan is that Azeroth is the Last Titan, and that at the end of Midnight the Titans are going to awaken Azeroth as one of their own, and that the whole plot is that we are going to have to fight Azeroth in order to ultimately cleanse her. And honestly, this leak aligns perfectly with this datamined cinematic, but the cinematic itself has been flagged as outdated by Blizzard. Maybe they're trying to just not spoil everything immediately, or maybe they're talking about the first part of the cinematic because the first part of the transcript is about the Amani, and it's not about the juiciest part, which is 12.2. However, in my opinion, based on these hints, it appears that the other part is very likely true. I mean, so far we have datamined multiple hints that 12.2 is almost certainly happening at the world core. Very likely we're either going to return to Kazakar in the final patch of Midnight, or it's going to be somewhere around the Chamber of the World Soul, which could be the final zone. We determine the Radiant Core reputation stuff, which indicates that it's related to the World Core, but personally, I think we are going to the lowest most layer of Kazakar. Remember when we realized there was a giant Titan elevator there, and at the bottom of the giant elevator was like a completely blocked floor that leads into the actual prison of the World Soul. It was hinted that this would happen in War Within, but looks like it was saved for now. Then we had no idea what Xal'atath was even planning to do, because with her foreshadowing, she really began turning into just another jailer. She started off well, but then you know, kind of for the chest started getting really old, really fast. But based on this cinematic, her goal was essentially to use the Sunwell to turn it into the Darkwell so that she can use the ley lines of Azeroth to channel herself and the Void Army into the World Core. There she plans to actually take over Azeroth. So she's not planning on turning her into like a Void Servant or some Void Titan, but the goal is to just take her form and become like this merged version of herself in our World Soul. This bit itself comes from the datamined cinematic. It is the most legit piece of evidence. Then that leads us into that follow-up. We know for certain that in The Last Titan, the Titans are returning. That's been a known fact since 2023 when the saga was announced. Something big has to happen for them to come, so it's likely that this Xal'atath becoming Azeroth is what happens, and it's likely that we are even going to defeat Xal'atath, but it's actually going to be the Titan Pantheon. However, they're not going to come to save the day, but to save themselves and their own project. So based on the knowledge right now, the way Midnight ends is that the Titans get rid of the Void and Azeroth and then turn against us, and instead Azeroth gets awakened as just another member of the Titan Pantheon. My idea is that once our World Soul is awoken and there is no nascent energy inside the core, the whole planet is going to go haywire and we're going to get another cataclysm-like event. I don't think we're going to get like a shattering that's going to change all the continents, but I just think the whole planet is going to start to slowly malfunction. Like the weather is going to change, we may have like crazy elementals just going crazy everywhere, some zones being broken. Like there is a lot of opportunity for things to just go completely sideways. Let's be completely honest here. I mean, so far the story of the saga has been mid at best, but I'd say just overall it hasn't been all that interesting. Literally nothing crazy has been going on. It seems like this was supposed to be just one expansion, The Last Titan, and that these two expansions are essentially just like overblown pre-patches for The Last Titan, but the Midnight ending may be exactly when things are finally, after all these years, going to get interesting. I mean, honestly, since Shadowlands, we just had this like huge disinterest in the story, and then Dragonflight didn't really improve it much in any way. Then 2023 came in with the big promises when the World Soul Saga was announced, the sword, Sargeras, all this crazy stuff. We thought we were back completely, and then the next 2 years could really, like 3 years, could just been Xal'atath delivering her speeches, being like 3 steps ahead, and then some completely random side stories being told that not many people honestly care about, and all with the premise of the Last Titan being like this big and final and ultimate culmination. Well, this big thing is coming soon. I mean, BlizzCon is happening in just a few weeks, and we are already data mining parts of the Midnight ending. I'm not certain how they're going to announce The Last Titan already, with 12.1 only coming out now, as I'm guessing they would have to spoil the Midnight ending, but it's possible that the Last Titan announcement is just going to be like some teaser of either Azeroth awakening, or it's going to be like the Titans being aware that they have to return, and the real Last Titan cinematic is going to come after 12.2. Honestly, so far, that seems like the most likely scenario. Thanks for watching. Check out the new Orgrimmar and Stormwind revamp by clicking on the screen, and check out my brand new Witcher lore channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.